Now, as to these most recent allegations against Craig Thomson, he put out a statement saying that he has never been given nor offered a titanium MX card, and that Fairfax never tried to contact him about the story, which seems to be a rather familiar complaint from people in recent times. So what lies ahead? Well, who's winning the battle of tactics over this one now, Laura?
I think it probably got to the point of just being a little bit too grubby last week, Barry. I mean, all of this stuff, all the allegations that have come out about Craig Thomson have all been fairly unpleasant. But I think the opposition just pushed it that little bit too far. I think the New South Wales police thing all fell to pieces. You had George Brandis at one stage a bit stymied because he was trying to push the line that Craig Thomson, if Craig Thomson had given this card to somebody else, it would involve fraud, and he seemed a bit flummoxed when somebody said, but that would have been fraud by somebody else, not by Craig Thomson. And I think when we got to the point of this really awful stuff about not providing a pair to Craig Thomson if his wife was going to give birth, I just think it got to that point where even a lot of coalition voters sort of thought, oh, yuck, this is revolting. I mean, they've got to short-circuit this, but I think it's lost the momentum it had in the last sitting weeks of Parliament. There are other issues to discuss now, so...
Although Tony Abbott makes it clear here that he intends to go on with it. Here he is.
On the admitted facts, on the known facts, there has been a grievous misuse of union money, and the member for Dobell has been a party to that. So the Prime Minister has a lot of explaining to do. How can she stand up for political integrity when at the same time she is running protection for a Member of Parliament who has been grievously misusing the money of lowly paid workers?
On this issue of running protection, though, isn't there a case to be made that both parties are running protection for Peter Slipper? and in this instance, it's not the union's money which seems to disturb Tony Abbott, but taxpayers' money. Alex Somerley, a colleague of Peter Slipper, will be presenting a petition to the Parliament demanding an investigation.
Well, I think they're doing to Peter Slipper what, excuse me, the Labor Party did to Mel Colston, and that is make him unacceptable for the other side to use, because there is this theory that if a member of the Labor Party goes down, then Harry Jenkins will step out of the chair and Peter Slipper...
Deputy Speaker steps in.
Who might happen to be the old Slippery Pete. So I think they're about destroying Slippery Pete and making sure that
Alex
he's
Somerley is,
not...
but has he got the support of the party more broadly on this?
Well, you know, look at what's happened in the branch recently. I mean, Mal Brough, former minister who's clearly looking for a return to politics, has now got a very key position in Peter Slipper's branch, and I would say substantial support. So there's an undermining of Peter Slipper going on in his own electorate, and they don't like a rat, as Nikki says, on either side of politics. And
Once
Peter
a rat, always a rat.
Peter Slipper is seen like
Peter.
that now. Yeah.
Good night, Peter. But just back on the HSU though. Sure, the opposition has been pushing this, but the union itself has also been pushing this. I mean, it was the HSU which put a complaint into the New South Wales Police. So it's not just Brandis, and in any case, I don't think Brandis should take a backward step. I mean, every day there is another allegation, a new stink bomb on the doorstep.
What George Brandis did, though, that makes it different is that he put the police onto a parliamentary colleague, whether it be the other side of politics or not. That is the most unusual thing. And then a story comes up in the Fairfax papers, which he denies, Craig Thomson denies, but based on a newspaper report, he again refers the matter to the police.
Well, I look forward to Mr Thomson's full and complete explanation in the Parliament.
So you don't think George Brandis is overreaching?
No, I don't. Not on this issue. Look, I think this issue is incredibly damaging to the government. I think it's very damaging to Gillard, especially as she has not uttered one word of condemnation about the possible misuse of union funds.
I think the interesting thing here is that, and the reason I'm sure Tony Abbott is still pushing this, is that, as I understand it, the New South Wales Police haven't proceeded because it's not clear, based on the accounting practices of the union, whether or not the person who owns the credit card was actually entitled to use it to spend it on prostitutes. And if you can't prove exactly what their entitlements were, then you can't prove fraud. And the other irony, I suppose, is if he had been charged, Tony Abbott wouldn't be able to talk about it in Parliament. So it's only the fact that he hasn't been charged at all that means that this week is going to be partly the Craig Thomson show.
But this is the complication. I mean, the HSU is a union that does look after very low-paid workers, and you know it's just revolting that all of this money is being squandered if it is. But it is also a union that's completely at war with itself. We all know the sorts of stuff that goes on, whether it's the Liberal Party, the Labor Party or a union, all making these allegations against each other. Certainly there is a role there to pursue issues of, potential criminal behaviour or any of those things. Yeah. But it's always the question of the extent to which you push it further just because you are trying to make that point about the government being inept.
A political point.
A political point about the government being inept when it's really about the credibility of this one MP, and to the extent to which you can spread what Craig Thomson has or hasn't done into the way the government works, and that's where I think they've just pushed it that bit too far.
And how seriously would they be taking it if the government wasn't sitting on a one-seat majority?
Well, everything is about the one-seat majority at the moment. I mean, everything is about trying to unseat the government. And, Tony Abbott can sniff the Prime Ministership. He has for a year, and he's going after it in every way that he can.
But I think, the opposition, I think, is resigned to the fact that there won't be a by-election out of this or an election, but they are convinced, obviously, that it's doing damage to the government and to Gillard in particular. So while ever that is happening, while ever fresh allegations are being made, then they are going to continue to pursue it.
And Anthony Albanese, in the meantime, is telling his colleagues to toughen up a bit and start returning fire. Here he is.
And I'll say this, that, some of my colleagues, I had a bit of an interesting dialogue with the community last week, some people might have seen. Now, some of my colleagues said, what was that about? Well, what it's about, from my perspective, is that at each and every opportunity, what the government has to do is not just advance our position, we have to also take on, head-on, face-to-face, our critics, be prepared to argue our case.
OK, well, I thought it was a fairly muted response, given his approach, but nevertheless...